I'm Jasmine. Welcome back. And if you're new here, welcome. I love rotational gameplay because it lets me see the world from different angles. It really keeps my stories interconnected and it makes the world feel like it's moving, even when I'm not actively playing every household. Today, I wanted to share some of the little systems and story moments that help me enjoy rotational gameplay without feeling overwhelmed. These are the things that make my worlds feel alive and really help me fall in love with my Sims again. You definitely don't need to do all of these things. Just take whatever sparks something for you and run with it. But it can feel a little chaotic without a few systems in place. That is where we're going to start. In the very beginning, I like to set up my world in a very specific way. I actually like to use lots that are created by others to fill my world. I sometimes get the little creative streak to build my own, but honestly, I like to get to the gameplay a little bit faster. So if you're one of those people that loves to build, this is definitely something up your alley. Otherwise, that's why there are other people that upload fantastic lots and you can download them. I do this because I feel like it really keeps the world feeling fresh. I can't tell you how many times I've started a family in Willow Creek. I've played in that world so much and I actually still love it. But what I really love about it is that I can create my own space within that world. You can put in lots that you wouldn't normally have in your world, like a spa or a restaurant, or I don't know, there's so many different lot types that we can have now. You can really be pretty creative with building your own custom world. If you're new to rotational gameplay, do not start with 10 households. Start with maybe 2 to 3 families. I find that's kind of the sweet spot. It's enough variety without feeling completely overwhelming. And once you get down a good system and you're into it and kind of know how to keep track of all of your families, then grow your rotations. But I think in the beginning, it's always wise to start small because those families multiply pretty quickly. My other favorite thing to do upon setting up my world for my rotational gameplay is to make sure I have custom holidays in my calendar. Sometimes I will use the game holidays, but a lot of times I like to even tweak those. So for example, the day that all of my families start in the world is a holiday of some type, and I will make sure to have that on the calendar every year. And then also I like to do things like schedule 2 or 3 days of summer break where, it's a day off from school and work and do fun summer activities like traveling or doing barbecues. But just adding in some of those custom holidays really makes your game feel more alive and it gives your household something to look forward to. I also tend to keep all of my rotational families in the same neighborhood. And I do this specifically because I want them to be intermingled together. I want the world to feel connected. So if my sim is out in their garden, in their yard, and they see their neighbor walk by, who is another one of my rotational families, I love that spontaneity and the ability to build stories off of encounters and, neighbors showing up at events together. It just really makes it feel alive and connected in your world. I also love to give my families a background story. I am building a world from scratch in Willow Creek. All of my families that I've started in that world have very specific background stories. My whole overarching theme is that you have a very wealthy family that comes into the neighborhood, wants to sort of industrialize and modernize the world. And then you have the resident fairy who not everyone knows. He has magical abilities, but is kind of the protector of Willow Creek and its natural beauty. And immediately right there, you have these 2 stories that are creating tension. And then you have all the other little neighbors that come into play. For example, I have Marisol and Luna Reyes, and it's a mother and daughter. I didn't want to take a massive amount of time to create a full-blown bio for all of these families. For Marisol, I really just did like a sentence or 2 for her background. And I just said, a warm, resilient, young single mom rebuilding her life and dreaming of a community garden that preserves Willow Creek's natural beauty. Right there, we already have a few things happening. She's a young single mom. She loves gardening and she already wants to have a community garden in Willow Creek. That's it. Like that gives you motivation to continue your story or build your story. It's easy, it's simple, and they don't have to be super complicated. I also really enjoy weaving all of these stories together. You have our Beaumont family who are more wealthy and ambitious, and Charles Beaumont is a calculating businessman. Then you have the Alderwood family, the guardian of the ecosystem and magical balance within Willow Creek. So you have all these interweaving stories from the very beginning, and it just creates a really fun and interesting world to be a part of. I also really enjoy giving my characters secrets, or my family's secrets. One of the secrets that the Beaumont family has is that Charles, the patriarch of the family, seems to have some scandalous dealings and is rumored to have ties with Sims Mafia, or the Safia, if you will. He's got kind of this villain, public enemy aspiration. So it just gives the gameplay a little bit more depth and creates a little bit more drama that might not otherwise be in the game. I also enjoy making sure that all of my characters are completely fleshed out. And what I mean by that is I use this character starter kit. And what it is it just makes sure that every sim has, hobbies and interests, their skills, kind of overarching ambitions and goals in their life. I also will keep track of relationships and things like that, just so that if I take a break from playing my rotational save, it's not like I just forget everything and I have to go back in and recreate all of the stories. If you want to learn more about that, I actually have a pretty good video that explains kind of how I build my characters for story-driven gameplay, and you can check that out below. The systems that kind of keep gameplay manageable are pretty simple. It's not super complex, but they keep things organized enough that the game stays interesting and fun. It doesn't become overwhelming. I like to play my families for about 3 to 4 days in game. I know that sounds really short, but it's actually kind of the sweet spot for me. I feel like it's long enough to settle into a family, but short enough to keep things moving. And I don't necessarily take this as a really hard and fast rule with how long to be spending time with each family, but I do kind of use that as my general boundary because it helps with the variety. The only time I don't really follow that is if there's certain events, like my teenagers are graduating from high school, or there's prom or birthdays, right? Things like that I don't want to miss. I'll sometimes play a little bit longer just to make sure I get those family events in. I also will turn on aging for just a single rotation in my gameplay. I found that I was missing birthdays and kids were growing up and things were changing within the household when I would leave. Didn't really like that. I wanted to kind of have full control. So if you're someone that likes the spontaneity, definitely, you don't have to follow this at all. But for me, I like to have roughly everyone in sync and age everyone at the same time. So if I have rotational families that have children that are growing up together, then they all can stay the same age and grow up together at the same time. What I'll do is play through the first rotational family and turn aging on during that play. Once I get done playing that family and move into my second rotation, I'll turn aging off for the second and third rotational families. And then every time I go back to the first family, we'll turn aging back on again. And that way it just keeps everyone in sync as we all kind of move through, and I can be there for all of the birthdays and the things that happen. Also, on that note, if you kind of want more control of your families and what they're experiencing while you're not playing with them, make sure you turn off the neighborhood stories, or at least customize them for certain families that you're playing with. Otherwise, your family may suddenly have triplets next time you're back in the house, or move across the world somewhere. I've had multiple things like that happen and kind of learned the hard way that I needed to turn off my neighborhood stories, or at least customize them. It just keeps things consistent within your story play. I also use a tracking sheet or tracking system to keep track of all of my Sims. I'm not going to go into that in this video. I actually have a whole video on that, which you can check out below. I do track ages, careers, relationships, notes on friends and aspirations and goals and hobbies all in one place. So it helps me just get an overall view of the world that I'm creating. Sometimes I like to do rags to riches arcs with my heirs, just because it spices it up. Sometimes you can make a lot of money in a family and it kind of takes the challenge out of playing. It just really depends how you want to play, but those are just some of the things that I rely on to make my gameplay flow and to make sure that it's still entertaining. I am not against using cheats or mods to set the stage for your game either. I feel like if you have a very specific story that you want to play out, definitely use cheats and mods to do that. Give yourself more money if you have a certain career, skill levels, or relationships, all of that. If it's a certain specific storyline you want to play, then make it happen. This is supposed to be for fun. Use your imagination and experiment with different household types. Like sometimes start with a single sim or a couple or a full-blown family or an elder sim, right? Each one of these kind of gives us a different little story energy that we can play into. These are just like some little things that kind of help me keep rotational gameplay fun and manageable. You don't need like a massive system to do this. You can literally just write this down and keep track. And that's what I love about rotational gameplay is that you don't need all these fancy things to make it fun. All you need is just a way to set yourself up for success. And I hope that I've provided some of those tools for you. Maybe you'd like to try some of these or you have your own. I would love to hear about them. Thank you so incredibly much for just spending a little bit of your day with me. If you liked this video, give me a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button. I'd love to have you be part of the fam. I will catch you in the next one. I'm Jasmine. Stay cozy and keep simming. Bye.